excuse this harsh lighting on my face. You've got some strong shadows here. That's because it's getting quite late and I had to turn some lights on, but we're all good. Alright, so in our last video we got to the stage where we added some sounds. As you can hear, we've got music in the background, we've got sounds when you jump and sounds when you collect a star. I'll turn that off for now because it can get quite annoying. Now what we're going to do is focus on removing the Flixel branding. Not all the Flixel branding, just the kind of main things. So we'll keep this favicon, but we'll get rid of this automatic pause screen. We will also get rid of the splash screen at the beginning, which you actually haven't seen, but if you were to build this game for production or for release, you will actually see it. And it looks a bit like this. So focus here, you get this Flixel splash screen, and every game you create with Flixel will have it by default, and you can keep it if you want, but I'm going to show you how to get rid of it if you want as well. So inside the main file, I haven't really talked much about this file, so I'll do a brief bit on it. I don't know much about OpenFL, but I'm assuming this is an OpenFL sprite. This whole game is an OpenFL sprite. And when you add a child into the sprite, it gives you some parameters. I'm sorry, not add a child. HaxeFlixel game gives you some parameters. So let me show you what those parameters are. Oh, sorry, you can pass arguments into it. I'm mixing my words up. But anyway, as you can see, we pass the game width, game height, initial states, which are these three things we've got so far. This will, if it's 0, will default to what we've passed in the XML project XML file, which is fine. But we want to get this value here, skip splash, and set it to true. So in order to get to this argument, we need to get past zoom, update frame rate, and draw frame rate. So to do that, let's put in the default. So zoom is 1, 60 for both, and then we want this to be true. So it's going to skip the splash screen, which is this splash screen here. Now because we're running the game in debug, which is what we set here, so debug, you will not see the splash screen in the game. So no matter how often I refresh or how I refresh this game, you will not see the splash screen. So take my word for it, once you build the game, you will not see it with this setting that we've made. Next thing to do is to disable this kind of automatic pause screen that we see when we kind of change tabs in the browser, or we change tabs down here. Creates an automatic pause. We don't want that. Or, I mean, you can keep it if you want, but if you don't want it, it's quite easy to remove. So inside here, we are going to say flxg.auto, I think it's auto pause. Auto pause, we're going to say false. Of course, if you are going to have kind of a main menu or other menus, you could put this line in a more global place, but we're going to put it here for now because this is our most global class. So once that has built and you refresh the game, you'll see no matter what I do over here, the pause screen will not come up. The game will always be running in the background. We also kind of want to get rid of this mouse, but not for development because I quite find it useful to right click. So we want to get rid of this mouse cursor for production or for release because our game doesn't benefit from it. And we're going to use something called conditional rendering, I think it's called, or conditional compiling, which basically means based on the platform you're compiling to, you can set conditions. So you use the hashtag or pound sign for that. And we're going to say if we're not in debug mode, then what we want to do is have flxg mouse visible to be false. So we want to hide the mouse, and we're going to end it like that. So this is how you do a conditional. You can do the same for Flash, web, as in HTML5, Mac, PC. You do it in the exact same way. So that will disable the mouse for production. And one thing that we've done, now that we've disabled the default kind of pause screen, we need to have our own pause screen because it's a bit annoying if the player can't actually pause the game. So let's make that now. Let's create a new file, call it pause menu, and we are going to make this a flex substate. course is going to dictate the background color of our substate. So we're going to do 0x52, which is about halfway, I'm going to say, and then have 6 zeros for black. Then we're going to override our create method. We're going to have some text, so we're going to put final pause text, and that would be FLX text. So new FLX text. We'll have these defaults for now, and then have this say again paused. Is that how you spell paused? No. Have the text fairly large at 42 pixels, and then we'll center it to the screen. What we're also going to do is when you open the pause screen, we want the background music to stop, so we'll do FLX G sound music play pause. So this should be pause, my bad. And then we're going to add this text, of course. In fact, it actually makes sense to add it before we pause the music, if that makes more sense. And what we're going to do here is override the update method as well. And this is going to take care of our going back into the game. So of course this will close the update as well as play the music. So I've got back here. Oops. Okay. I hope that makes sense. So actually I've got to do a few things. And then there we go. So once the player is on the screen and then they hit the escape button, it will play the music that was paused up here and close this substate. One last thing to do is in the update method here, we're going to say, actually, let's grab this bit because it's essentially the same. And then say final pause menu equals new pause menu open substates pause menu, and we also, I think that's it. Yeah, I think this is it. Let's see if this works. Okay, so we have the game running with music, and we hit escape, game pause, music stopped, press escape again. Okay. Looks like it should be just pressed because we only want it to happen when you press the keys, when you press escape once, not when you continue to press it. And now when we test the game and hit the escape button, it pauses, press it again, goes back into the game. And that can happen at any stage the player presses the button. So that's it. In our next video we're going to go through a bit more polishing and create our own preloader. So we're going to, instead of using the Flixel one, this screen, we'll create our own from scratch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.